Callan Diggs here. I just kind of want to expand on the previous video when I offered kind of another, viable product or a micro business, and I kind of talked about a podcast. And I want to kind of talk a bit more about that because the way I ended the video, it probably spurred a lot of questions. Okay? So, many people are wondering, yeah, podcast may sound great, but how do I actually monetize that? Especially if you're trying to create the most basic offering without investing a lot of time or resources. How does a person monetize it? Well, as I talked about previously, uh, I'm not saying frequency is not important, but you should worry even more about the quality of the podcast. Okay, so obviously, you don't have to go out and get expensive equipment, but at the same time, uh, you shouldn't get the cheapest either. So definitely do your due diligence and find a common ground. Uh, you know, or even find a balance. You might not have the best microphone, but you better sure be proficient in an audio editing software, so the quality could be indistinguishable from a very or from a comparable type of podcast. But to monetize it, typically there's three ways to monetize a podcast. There is like ads, like you would hear on the radio. So they will put like 30-second ads in between segments, to have sponsors, and the sponsor would pay you a certain amount of money to have an ad in your show. It could be wherever you want to put it, whether it is in the middle of the show or towards the end. That's up to you. The second way is premium content. You can definitely offer more. For example, maybe an interview went long, or maybe you have no specific time duration in interviews, but maybe you decide, for consistency, you'll make your episodes 30 minutes. But sometimes when things go over, you can use that extra, the extra time and turn that into premium content to offer your listener. That's just one form. Obviously, there's other types of premium content, but that's probably one of the common ones. And then and lastly is your flagship product. Like, for example, with my podcast, my flagship product is my book, Reaching the Finish Line: How to Thrive in a Generation Y Era, and then my previous book, Reaching the Finish Line: A Practical Guide to Discovering and Championing You. So that's my flagship product. So that's like every episode. I encourage people to go to my website, and which would, after hearing the show, it would encourage them to buy the book if they want to go deeper as far as reaching their finish line. Now, if you don't have a flagship product, you can you can have a Patreon, or you can have some type of donation widget, and you can solicit donations. So, and then you also have kind of the wild card that probably is popular but may not be as profitable, at least not in the beginning, is you can have like an Amazon Associates type of account, and where if you mention different products or books on the episode, you can suggest that people go to that episode page and buy the book there, because it supports you, as Amazon pays a commission. So that's something to consider. Podcasting is not for everybody. There's different formats. Obviously, you can do the interview format when you interview people, or you can kind of have a sole lead format, and where you're like driving the episode. You can make it very topical. But That's something I want you to consider. It's my intention for you to reach the finish line, and you can start by going to reachingthefinishline.com. And until next time, I hope you're reaching your finish line.